welcome to the Pulse. This is a special edition today, especially in that it's a singular guest, and it's a special guest. I would like you to welcome with me Cathy McMorris Rodgers, our Washington 5th District Representative. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year.
Yes, I know, and it's so funny because I don't know about you, but the last day or so I've been telling people, well, next year, meaning 2020, and then I'm realizing we're a couple days into 2020.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We're closer to 2050 than 1990 now.
Well, some of us will be around in 2050 and some of us may not be, okay? Okay.
Quite a thought.
Let's talk about Washington, D.C.
Yes.
You're headed back tomorrow morning. We're recording this on Monday and it'll air probably on Wednesday, so you've already gone back. But what have you been hearing when you've been out here the last couple of weeks as you've talked with family and friends and others in the community?
Right. Well, what I hear more than anything is a desire by people here in Eastern Washington for Congress to really focus on the issues that are going to make a difference in their lives.
Yes.
And there's an exhaustion of so much of it being about politics, about whatever the issue.
Yeah.
Republicans blaming the Democrats, Democrats blaming the Republicans. And
it's both sides.
Let's do what's best for America. Let's get focused on what's really going to improve people's lives. And I'm proud of some of the work that we have done.
Right.
Even here in Eastern Washington right now, you see an economy that is booming. That you see, where wages have gone up, where we have more people lifted out of poverty. We have the average family wage that has increased 15,000 in the last 5 years. It is a good news story, and there's more opportunities today for people to find a good paying job. But having said that, there's still a lot of people that are anxious. There's a lot of stress in our lives, and what can
And Cathy, not all the stress is going to go away in our lives. I mean, that's just reality. You're old enough, I'm certainly old enough to know that it doesn't all go away.
Well, that's part of life.
Yeah, it is, exactly.
And making sure that the federal government, that Congress is actually focused on issues that are going to continue to improve our lives and address issues that are important to people needs to be most important.
Well, especially under the House with Republican ownership, if you will, leadership, and the president, we've seen our stock market go up. We've seen some of the things you were just talking about, the job market improved, and all the other things. And is what the Democrats, what they're doing right now with the impeachment and everything else, their only defense, their only tactic, because what Republicans are doing is working.
Well, when you look at the results, I'm very proud of our record of results.
Right.
And as we were just talking, it's much of this last year has been focused on impeachment.
Yes.
And unfortunately, from my perspective, it seems that a lot of this impeachment has been driven by politics.
Clearly.
Ever since President Trump was elected in 2016, there were calls among some on the Democrat side that were calling for his impeachment on day one.
Yes.
And it has continued, and it led ultimately to the vote in the House just before Christmas on 2 articles of impeachment that I really believe were more politically driven than the substance, and did not meet the standard of what the Constitution requires, did not prove the crime. It was an impeachment that he had obstructed Congress and abused power, which
give me a break.
There's always a struggle between the branches of government.
Of course.
And
that's part of why the Constitution set up 3 branches too.
That's right. I mean, many times in the previous administration with the Obama administration, we ended up in court.
Yeah.
That's where you go when you feel like when the executive branch is going beyond its authority, then you have to go to the courts.
Right.
I mean, and that's what we did. We did that with Obamacare. We did that with the DACA. We did that with other policies that we thought he had gone beyond his constitutional role.
Do you think much other than election and impeachment is going to happen in Washington, D.C. in 2020?
Well, clearly, ever since President Trump was elected, a lot of the focus politically has been on President Trump,
right.
impeachment.
But that makes it hard to get other things done, though.
It's very true.
Yeah.
It has occupied a lot of our time. That's what the media is focused on.
Yes.
The media wants to talk about that all the time.
Right.
I can tell you that within Congress, it's like any family or community. It's about relationships.
Yes.
Right? There's 435 men and women that are elected from all different corners of the country that come together to vote, to debate these issues, to bring their ideas forward. And we need to stay focused on actual that work. I serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee.
Right.
And we have, in the midst of all of this, we have done important work right now. And even today I had some meetings in Eastern Washington around closing the digital divide.
Okay.
Very important.
Absolutely.
Right? To our future.
Yes.
Whether it's economically, healthcare, education, we have to have access to broadband and that internet connection. And especially in the rural areas, there's this sense that they're being left behind. The Energy and Commerce Committee, when I go back this week, we are leading on several pieces of legislation around 5G. And these are bipartisan proposals that are positioning America to lead the world.
Will they pass out of the House, though, you think?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they will pass
because
this week.
They've got enough.
Yes.
So we are getting some work done.
So that is bipartisan work. I led on legislation around mapping. Yes. The maps that we use right now to determine where the dollars go to build out broadband in rural and underserved areas are completely inaccurate. It shows 100% of Spokane County covered, 100% of Stevens County, 97% of Ferry County.
And we can all show you areas, can't we?
Right.
Yeah.
So we've passed mapping legislation that is bipartisan again. So there is some work that's being done. I do feel like right before Christmas, it felt like we had hit a new low.
Yes.
As far as just that divide and this sense that you're not allowed, to work across the aisle. Rather than it really being about focusing on issues, on policies, and how we can address these important issues.
And there are 435 representatives up for election.
Yes.
In 2020. So there better be some working across the aisle, don't you think?
Well, we got to get things done.
I'm thinking for both sides.
Yes.
The
Democrats have the majority in the House right now.
Right
now. The Republicans have the majority in the Senate, and we have a Republican President Donald Trump. So in order to get anything done, it's going to require bipartisan support.
I'm going to ask a crazy question. Okay, the president will be reelected. I think that's pretty much known by most people.
That's
a little work to do. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be a big question in 2020.
I don't think quite so much, but okay. The Senate, we Republicans on the right?
I would just say we cannot take anything for granted.
Oh, no.
Heading into 2020, there is a lot at stake.
Yeah.
I am frightened right now by so many on the left that are calling for socialism in America.
Yes.
And whether it is policies around the Green New Deal or Medicare for all, but it's really a belief that the federal government can solve our problems, and the wealth tax, the taking of more of our money. Yeah, the people. I can assure you, the people in Washington D.C. are not any smarter or better equipped to make decisions for us here in Spokane than the people of Spokane.
Yeah.
And I believe in trusting people to make the best decisions for themselves. That it is free markets that have lifted more people out of poverty, raised the standard of living. 2.5 million people lifted out of poverty in the last 3 years in America. And I don't know if you saw, it's the new year, it's the new decade. The last decade around the world, the poverty rate has been cut in half.
Wow.
And now we have over half of the world that is living in middle class. So there is a good news story going on around the world.
Right.
And I would submit that it is driven by free markets, freedom-loving people that can take their ideas to improve our lives, new products, new services, and do something with those ideas. It's never been socialism. It's never been a top-down approach.
It's never worked in the history of the world. We know that.
Right.
But some of the young people don't. Where has all this come from? I've got a theory, but I'm going to see if we agree on the theory. Where do you think a lot of this socialism has come from?
Well, there's always been there's always been a drumbeat. There's always been some that have been promoting socialism in America. I feel that seems like a lot of our colleges and universities and some of the professors in our colleges and universities.
And it even goes down to K-12.
Yes, that in maybe in the classroom, they somehow can make the arguments that this is actually going to result in a better outcome.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to look at what's really getting the results. Even in bringing down carbon emissions.
Yeah.
America is leading the world right now in
Yes.
bringing down carbon emissions, right?
Yep.
Because of technology, because of innovation, we are actually bringing down our carbon emissions. China, it's up. They're increasing. They're at we've brought down our carbon emissions now to 1992 levels, 1950 levels on a per capita basis.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
No other country in the world is even close.
No,
Europe,
but if you listen to the left, it sounds like we've made it worse.
Yes. They want us to be in the Paris Agreement.
Yeah.
No European Union country has met the Paris Accord goal. Not one. Not one has even met 80% of the goal. 5 have met 50% of their goal. Okay?
Yeah.
Now you compare that to us in America, where through technology, through creativity, through innovation, we are actually bringing down carbon emissions. And that's just one example where it is creativity, American ingenuity. It is freedom-loving people that do care about our environment, that do care about lifting people out of poverty, that come up with the solutions that get the results.
Right. Yeah, one of my theories has been, and I've been fairly vocal with it in the last 6 to 12 months as I've watched what's happened, and that is this whole socialism, communism push has really come from what you mentioned, especially higher education. I think we, on the conservative side, have just kind of ignored our public institutions especially, and assumed that everything was going along like it should be, that they were being played fair in terms of of educating our young people, and I call those in college young. When they're 73, they're young, okay?
They are young.
But I see tenured professors out there, and we've got some in our area here, and I won't mention names, but who continue to drumbeat for socialism and for anti-republic republicanism and so forth. And I can only imagine what they're teaching in the classroom. Mm-hmm. And it worries me. It's time for those on the right and to stand up now and take a look at this. I'm one who does not believe in tenure. I'm sorry, none of us have been in a job that's guaranteed forever, okay? You're up for election every 2 years,
That's right.
okay? I'm, quote, retired, but you can see how well that's working out. But the fact is, I've never thought of, I'm going to get a job and I'm there forever. When I left the Chamber of Commerce to go work for then Washington Water Power, some of my friends said, you're set for life. And I thought, and my first reaction was, that's not what I'm thinking.
Right.
I stayed there 13 years. I didn't stay there for all of my career. I have never thought, I'm always looking for what is the next project.
Well, you continue to contribute.
And continue to learn, too. And I think that's part of it. So there's guaranteeing, anyway.
I'm going to I've been visiting high schools.
Okay, good.
Going to every high school in Eastern Washington. And also to your point, the Washington Policy Center has been hosting debates on college and university campuses around socialism versus free markets.
Great organization.
According to their questionnaire, 83% of our college students have never heard of free markets.
That's sad.
That's frightening.
It is
That's frightening. And
that's what I mean. It's all of a sudden come up on us.
Yeah, and I think we need to celebrate America.
Yes.
America has not been perfect.
Well, and we want to rewrite history too.
Well,
okay.
But America has been this greatest experiment in self-governance that the world has ever known. When I go to the high schools, I give them a copy of the Constitution, and I read to them the preamble of the Constitution. And it starts out, we the people.
Yeah.
We the people in order to form a more perfect union.
My guess is
Yes, but then I say, you know, that was our Constitution. It's about the people. We fought a civil war to free the slaves. We're celebrating the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote. We passed civil rights.
What? We let women vote?
We are voting. We are running. We are holding office. But all of this has been a part of this. You know, we are continuing that search for a more perfect union.
Yeah.
America isn't perfect. None of us are perfect.
We're only about 250 years old.
But each one of us need to be giving thought to how do we help create stronger communities, stronger families. John F. Kennedy asked, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Yep.
And right now there's this, it's very easy and people are quick to criticize, point out where the other person is doing something wrong. Or, you know, we need to be pointing the finger more at ourselves and really looking at what are we doing in our families, in our communities to build a stronger community. It's never going to be the federal government that solves our problems.
No. Or the state government.
Or the state government. Yet there's this sense that every society problem right now demands a federal government solution.
Yeah.
I don't agree. It's a bottom up. It's empowering families and individuals and communities to make those best decisions for themselves.
How's our ag community doing in this area?
Well, it was great that we finally, after a year of delay in the House by Speaker Pelosi, she brought up USMCA for a vote. So that's the U.S.-Mexico-Canadian agreement. That's the update to NAFTA. We needed to get that trade agreement passed and signed into law. That was important to our farmers because getting that trade agreement in place then triggers other agreements that we can work on. Yeah. So you saw where there was an initial agreement with China. We passed, or there was an initial agreement with Japan. We export over 50% of our wheat to Japan. So,
and we're a wheat country.
Ensuring that we have that certainty, that our farmers know that market is there for us is really important. So, you know, the farmers are, they need those markets. So getting these trade agreements signed and giving them the confidence that they'll be able to sell into these markets is really important.
Yeah, because most of the farms in our area, I was told the other day, about 85-90% are family farms.
Yes.
And so, and you know a lot of them and so forth. In fact, we're looking forward to starting this spring a whole series on our agriculture community here in this area.
Well, I'm proud to have grown up on the farm.
Well, your
My
name
family
came up.
owned an orchard and fruit stand.
Yeah.
And we can be proud of that heritage and those roots in Eastern Washington. Agriculture is our #1 industry.
Yeah. One last thing on my agenda, and you can bring up anything you want. We took out somebody the other day, a leader of a very bad group from Iran. And I think under any other circumstances, other than it being President Trump, I think most of the Democrats who have said things like this before and in the past would have supported it, have come out and, of course, criticized the president. What are you hearing? You've been talking to people. What's your position?
Well, my position is that I support this decisive action by our president, by our commander-in-chief. Yeah. And we know that Soleimani was a terrorist, that he was responsible for the deaths of hundreds of Americans. We know that he was
something like 600 of our Americans or troops
and thousands of others have been injured. He's behind the support of Hamas and Hezbollah, terrorist organizations. He was a terrorist.
Yes.
And so I support the action by the president. I believe that we need, as a member of Congress, I want to know what the plan is. I want it, and I believe it is very important that we support the president when he's taking action to protect American lives. Yeah. And he has said that there were many other plans that they were made aware of. Yep. He took action to protect America's lives. We also need to make sure that this does not escalate further. And I think that is on a lot of people's minds. It's on my mind.
It's on my mind because I saw my grandson the other day who went back to Fort Benning to finish his basic training.
Sure.
Okay? And my guess is there are a lot of viewers out there that are in the same circumstance with their kids and grandkids and so forth. And I'm very proud of what he's doing. In fact, he's going to go into, what is it, when you jump out of airplanes, which is the last thing.
Parachuting, yes.
Yeah, last thing I'd want to do. Yes. But anyway, he's dedicated to do this for the next few years and so forth. So I've got a personal stake, and a lot of people do out there too. But we also have to protect our people.
Yes.
Isn't that the number one thing that our country can do for us?
Absolutely.
Yes. You know, when you talk about the federal government, as efficient as it is or isn't, okay, yeah, that's the one thing our federal government can do for us.
Well, it's the number one responsibility
yes.
of the federal government to
yeah.
keep us safe, and we're so grateful for your grandson and for so many others
Absolutely.
Who voluntarily
yes.
put
yes.
on that uniform
yeah.
to defend American
yeah.
interest and our security, provide for the security of our country.
Yep.
And it is America that has led the world, that ensures that we have the free flow of goods and people all over the world,
Absolutely.
right? It's the American Navy
yes.
that makes sure that the seas are safe. And I fear that too often we take that for granted. And this is another reminder to make sure that we are saying thank you. And for those who are deployed, I was recently with some families who have children and grandchildren that are deployed, and it weighs on your heart when it's one of yours that is on the front lines.
When I look on Facebook and see others out there doing it, whether they're related or not, they're one of mine. Mm-hmm. And I think we all look at that way. Yeah. And I think we need to support them and do whatever we can. And I love some of the changes that are happening with the VA and so forth that I know you've been working on. You're up for election this year.
Yes.
Want to say anything?
Well, it's an honor to represent this district in Congress. And I am committed to listening and leading to get results, and being somebody who helps unite, that brings people together to actually solve problems. We have real challenges. We have a big issue right now with homelessness. And at a time when we have a growing economy, we want to make sure that we're reaching out and that we're being compassionate.
Yes.
And actually coming along and helping those that are in need and have,
Absolutely.
For whatever reasons, whether it's addiction or other challenges that individuals face, make sure that we are meeting the needs of the least among us in this community. And so every day I get to meet people that are making a huge difference. And I am inspired by that and grateful to serve this community.
I had someone, as I mentioned the other day, in fact, there's a whole program on it from last Tuesday, just before New Year's Day, from the ag community, and your name came up, and one of the first things he said is, well, a couple of us went unannounced to D.C., and Cathy came out and asked if you wanted a picture with her and all of that, and more than just the pictures and so forth. He was very appreciative of the torch that you're carrying for the ag community. And another area is, of course, something you and I both have in common, and we have Down syndrome sons.
Yes.
And how is your son doing?
He's doing great.
Yeah.
He's having a good year.
Good.
In school here in Spokane, and just so grateful for the teachers
Yes.
and all of the extra support, the therapists and those that are working with him.
How old is he?
He's 12.
12. Oh,
and
boy.
they are
Teenage
committed
years
to helping
are coming
him.
up, aren't they?
Yes, and so he's been up to Mount Spokane skiing.
Oh,
he's
fun.
playing hockey, and
Is he doing the Special Olympics at all?
Yes. Well, it's an adaptive program.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Brad, my son, who celebrates his 50th birthday in another 2 months. Can you believe that? And you and I have talked about it. It was different 50 years ago.
Yes, it was.
And part of the history that I shared with you then was that all of our friends and family, most of them, it was the decision of which institution would you're going to put your son in, and we bucked the trend back then, and today, fortunately, it's not that way anymore.
Well, you were a trailblazer.
It was a difficult decision.
And thank you. Thank you for being someone who recognized that we need to treat everyone and give them a chance. Give them a chance to be educated. Look at now, kids with Down syndrome are living longer than ever.
And they're even going to college.
Yes.
I mean, look at what's going on today. So it has changed.
We shouldn't put any limits on anybody.
No, absolutely. Cathy, thank you. Have a safe trip back.
Thank you.
Continue to do our work for us, and we appreciate you very much.
Great to
and
be
you'll
with
come back
you,
and
Ken.
visit with us, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you
It's great
very
to be
much.
in your new studio.
Yes,
Congratulations.
thank you. Thanks for watching The Pulse of Spokane. See you here next time.
The Pulse of Spokane is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksMedia.com, which is solely responsible for its content. The Pulse of Spokane is brought to you in part by Homes for You, Well Dressed Walrus, Spokane Firefighters Local 29, Creative Music Learning Center, and North Idaho Events. Ask the host a question, recommend a guest, or hear this program again on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com.